Hello and welcome to the Faith Building Podcast, episode 28, with your amazing and lovely hosts, Vladi, Kuna, and
And Norman Gräter.
welcome and welcome. Today's topic will be randomly picked, as always, like the things Vladi and I are into on a daily basis. And we realize that Vladi will fly to Houston very soon to deliver an amazing keynote speech. And there she had some questions to the three-time European champion in public speaking. And we just thought after speaking about it, we should have recorded that as so often. And then we just stopped our conversation and hit record and go from there and look into the questions that Vladi has, because everyone has to be on stage from time to time. And it could be grandmother's 90th birthday where you have to say something, or class reunion, or presentation at work or in school, wherever you are. So there will be a lot of value in it for you as well, even if you say, I'm never speaking in front of people. Yes, you do. Even a one-on-one talk is kind of a speech in my way of seeing it. So I hand it to Vladi and her amazing questions that she has to become an even better speaker.
Isn't it amazing when you actually face something in your life and then you have people in your surroundings who are the pros and can help you with this? And this is really, guys, this is why we love doing this podcast, because it is building faith and belief in yourself and others every day. So pretty much what we're going through, we're sharing with you and giving you tips how we, sometimes did it right and sometimes didn't. But my grandparents, and this is not my grandparents, it's everyone. I know that somebody said to you, there is the saying where you say smart people learn from the mistakes of others, stupid people learn from their own. And so many times we just know we should do it and we just want to, it's sometimes the ego, it's like, but I can handle it. And then we're same. So speaking on stage, I love, because Norman is so many times, 5 times champions. I mean, the awards I should have listed here for you guys, but you can look him up on his website, which is is it actually fun? Norman, what is it?
Norman-Gräter.com. Graeter.com. Norman, yes.
Brilliant. You can look him up, because really he's been speaking and that's what he does. It's his purpose and life. And
Passion.
But for me, passion, that's his fascination. For me, I actually used to say I hate stage. I did think I hate stage. I was always at the background and, like being behind the scenes. You know how sometimes you go to the events, guys, and you can buy the VIP seats where you sit right at the beginning? But I remember the old days, I would buy a ticket to go and attend something and find the furthest possible place from the stage so nobody could see me. You could hardly hear the speaker because, then you realize it's not quite great. But I'll tell you why. My personal reason was I was afraid, because usually they ask the people at the front and sometimes they pull them to the audience and they just, randomly speakers, obviously that is the closest part. And that was the reason and my fear, and that's why I booked the back seats. And it only came to me actually right now, we didn't even talk about this, that do you have these fears? Because it's proven that the biggest fear on this planet for every single human being is speaking. It's actually the biggest fear of us. It's apparently the fear of being on stage and speaking is much greater than a fear of death. And when I've heard that, I thought, this can't be truth. But it is. It has been proven that people just fear. And I can relate to that. For me, it was like anything when people would be like handing a mic, I'd be like sweating and panicking. And, you all of a sudden feel that you're sick. You just have to practice and get better and decide that you want to speak as well. And like Norman said, is you speak all the time. So I'm going to head it to a question. I said to Norman, how could you help me to prepare? Because I'm pretty confident, I think, on speaking, but I usually download things. So I get into my zone. And so it may sometimes feel like it's wide, it's broad, we jump from subject. Whereas when you're a speaker, you have to be prepared. I'm going to repeat that. Prepared. We have to prepare and we need to practice and be better. So what is the best way for me, Norman, what are the things I should focus on to practice? Because speaking 20 years ago and 10 years ago and now has changed a little bit of rules. I remember, and I'll hand it to you, but I remember how I paid one of those initial, and this is few years, it was before, probably just after or during the COVID. It was the online stuff, and then we had this meeting in person. And the guy was like, you have to stand straight, don't lean, don't shoulders back, which is obviously, it is the confidence you shine on the stage, people can pick on. So it is important. But is it still the same, Norman? Like you have to be in a certain way, not leaning, lumping? What are the do's and don't do's? I'd say don't.
Yeah, partly it's still the same. I saw a video last night on Instagram, I think, where a CEO, I think of ChatGPT, came out on stage and he had his hands next to his pocket, like when you just let your arms hang. And the hands look quite stiff, like next to the legs, just hanging there. And you could just tell from his position of the hands that he felt very uncomfortable. He would have loved to hide. And the further he came into his presentation and the more familiar he got with the stage and the audience, the more he started becoming alive, I want to say. He used his arms, his hands. So I think how you stand, how you walk, how you present your body language is still a major key because it gives you a first impression. Before you even open your mouth, people have an opinion about you, how you walk those, I don't know, 4 or 5 meters from side stage to center stage. You already made your appearance by saying nothing yet. It would be even more challenging if you are a great speaker from your voice, but your body language tells a different thing. The issue with the body is your body always tells the truth. And I do this in my speakers training all the time. I film the training. I know people hate that when I film them, and you said people rather die than speak in front of people and then a camera is rolling. Still, if you watch yourself, and this would be the first great advice, how you practice, just record yourself and watch it. Because even if you have someone giving you advice, yes, 5 sentences ago you said this, you did that, and you say, really, did I? Watch the recording, just watch the recording, listen to yourself, and this is another challenging part, to hear your own voice for most people. And again, the voice you hear is different than the voice you hear in your mind. It's just a different thing, and still get used to it. Even if you think, oh, it's a horrible voice. No, it's not. You just hear it different, like coming out of your mouth. But coming back to, should I kind of play a role and rehearse body language? Yes, because a very easy explanation is, and you can see that when people, I usually ask them to speak about their life. Just give me 1, 2, 3 minutes about your life, about your hobbies, things that you're familiar with. Because you don't have to practice something, you're living your life for, so it should be quite easy for you to speak about yourself. And sometimes you can see that they're walking, or they're going a step forward or a step backward. And it's always very interesting, when does the body go forward and when does the body go backwards? And very often when it comes about selling and when it comes to selling something, people go one step back. Which means, if you're now aware of that, I tell you, and I have the best offer for you possible. And while I say that, I go one step back, and I don't do this consciously, my body does it automatically. Which, if you start paying attention to that, you would ask, if you have the best offer for me, why are you getting away from me? Because it's not the best offer, and you know that. You're just telling me a lie. Because with your words you can tell a lie, but your body always tells the truth. So body language and all those things are a major part still. Yet I would not start focusing on that. I would focus on the biggest and greatest advice that I think it was Craig Valentine, a former world champion in public speaking, that was one of my main mentors. He always said, know your shit. Know your shit, which means you should know what you speak about. If you don't know what you want to speak about, and you're relying on a PowerPoint presentation or whatever kind of technical devices you want to use, and they should fail, then you're toast. So should know your shit. In your case, Vladi, I know you know your shit. You have been in the study for so many years. You're the coach of coaches, the master of knowledge.
Thank you.
All the time you use to get this knowledge and new knowledge into your mind and soul and heart is just amazing. And I don't know anyone studying so much as you do. So you know your shit. Check on that. I want to touch another point that you just touched slightly, like the scarcity of going on stage. If I look into my own life, I always was not scared, but I always thought I have no talent. So why should I be on stage? Why should somebody listen to me? And again, by saying that, you can already picture my body language when it comes to what do I have to tell? Like the shoulders are down and the head is down and the voice is low. No, if you go on stage, like you said, 100% true and for sure, you need to be an authority because you're the one delivering a message. Now, when it comes to the point that you're scared, that you say, oh, I'm sweating, I'm scared, my voice is disappearing and I'm shaking and all those typical things. The most valuable advice I received, and probably it was Darren LaCroix, another world champion of public speaking, he always said, then it's too much about you. When you're scared going on stage, it's too much about you. The focus is too much about you. Why? As Vladi said, some people rather die than go on stage. And the question is why? And it's very obvious. The most common point of fear is people have the fear of not being loved. Now imagine it's not just a one-on-one, but it's a 1 to 100 if you go on stage, and they will not love you because you do some kind of mistake, you forgot your words, you make a strange movement, the technical stuff goes out, whatever might happen. And you're so scared of that. And this is what brings out the fear. So which means your focus is not on the audience and your focus is not on the message itself. The focus is too much on me. Me. Oh, I could fail. I could lose my sentence. I could screw up the PowerPoint. I could misclick to, I don't know, 5 slides ahead. Whatever might happen. And if you get that out, that you say, hey, the presentation is not about my ego and do I shine and am I the best and the best speaker. Actually, at the end, nobody cares. The question is in my mind, how I teach people, do you touch their hearts? Can you touch people's hearts in the audience? This means I pull myself back. If I have a misspelling, if I lose a sentence, whatever might happen. I mean, life is life. Then it happens. But this also happens in real life. Sometimes you speak and you say, I totally lost my sentence. Where did it go? And nobody cares, but you think if I'm speaking in front of 100 people, they would care. If you're honest about it and say, I just lost everything. I lost my line. Did somebody pay attention? What did I say last? Laugh about it. Be open about it. And again, if the focus is too much on you and that you want to be perfect, then you're scared. Then you totally lose it. If you say, I do as good as I can, with the training I had, with the knowledge I have, could it be better in 5 years? For sure. And it will. But you have to start somewhere. So laugh about yourself. If there's a mistake, if there's something, just laugh about it. Laugh it away. Play it open. Don't try to hide stuff when things go wrong. Be very open about it. Laugh about it, because when you laugh, the audience laughs. When you cry, the audience cries. When you're miserable, the audience is miserable, because what appears in the audience as well is your energy.
Yeah.
And this comes from your heart. So I would say, know your shit. Be okay with being not okay, which means be authentic. Be okay with being not okay. You say, I had certain training and I can do certain things, like in your job, in baking, in driving, and raising children. Even if you have what Wayne Dyer used to say, I think he had 5 children, 5, 6?
7.
7 people. He said he has now 7 theories how to raise children. You have the first one, and then you think, and you can tell that too, and myself as well. You have the first child, and then you think, okay, now I have a pretty good idea how it works. And you get the second child, and you say, I think I have no idea how to raise children. It's totally different.
I love when he said it on a stage. He said, now I have 7 children and no theory.
Yes, because everything is different, and it's the same with speaking. Do you get better? Do you get more calm and relaxed? Of course, and this is what it's all
Mm.
about. You just need to be relaxed, and if you know your shit, you can present it in a relaxed way. Should you use a teleprompter? You can do that in the beginning. I had a music stand in front of me where my whole text was written. So in the beginning, I was reading the text because I was so scared if I forget stuff, people cannot follow me. It's okay to start with. Totally, Vladi said she channels stuff. I do the same. I don't use any text. I don't use any teleprompter. Not for my recordings, not for the videos, for nothing. But to use that in the beginning, yes, if it helps
Mm.
you, then use it. But don't be scared because mistakes can happen, typos in the text can happen, misspellings can happen, wrong movements can happen. It's okay. If you're totally okay with that and if you don't take yourself too serious, all is well.
Thank you. You know, like this is such a great, I already have another question that leads to this, but I'm gonna point to things like know your shit. I think, guys, this is really what happened to me. It's like you have to focus on yourself in terms of study, but on others when you speak. So it's almost like get the best version out of yourself every day. What can I do better? 1%. Don't overload yourself. I did. I drained myself so many times because I thought I have to master all this at the same time. I don't recommend it to anyone because being consistent and just showing up. And Norman actually knows because it was a very initial time, probably 7 years ago now when I started, like entered the personal development industry. And first couple of years, I wasn't really speaking. So it was like hanging around I wouldn't even open my camera because just in case somebody wanted to ask me something and I had to unmute and talk, it was like this whole fear. How many of you go somewhere and choose to sit at the back of the stage, or you enter the online zone and you keep your camera off just in case because people could pull you up? Is that the reason why you don't show up? Because you are not showing up for yourself because of the fear. When Norman was talking, I've written it down, when he talked about not being loved, it's actually called fear of rejection. So we are afraid that what happens when people reject me? They don't reject us. They may reject what we're talking about or not connect to the message at the particular energy we're in. And if, as Norman is saying, if we're kind of feeling wobbly and unsure and, like people knowing your shit, this is why I really am fine, thrown everywhere. And this is my second question, leads to that. Like, what do you recommend to people like me who actually now knows the shit? And thank you for your beautiful comments. But I download. So I know that sometimes it may feel in a room, I jump to so many because I threat. I can all of a sudden see this is how I call it a gift, but I need to master that gift a little bit better, as I can start threading and it connects me to like different teachings and stuff. But to an audience, it may feel like you're jumping to too many places, and it's not quite structured. And the reason I asked Norman to help me is because I have 20-minute speech. So, like if you actually tell me, Vladi, could you I would need you to help me like speak like 2 or 3 hours. It's like people actually panic. Me, I'm like, give me 5 hours and I'm totally fine. Where I kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable is when they actually give me 20 minutes, because all of a sudden I'm like, how do you squeeze your message so it's powerful, efficient, not deviating all over the places into the 20-minute speech? So what would you recommend to people who are quite comfortable speaking, but how do they do it great in 20 minutes?
Yes. I want to touch two things. First of all, the question itself, and then what you mentioned about the download and is it okay to jump through 20 stories? Let's start with your question. If you know the outcome of your speech, and this is important if you write a book, if you go on stage, or even if you have a dream, even if it's just your life, it's the same thing. What's the outcome? And we spoke about that in other episodes. What's the last thing you want to see on your life's journey? What's the last picture you want to see? Are there other people? Where are you? What are you doing? Are you alone? Are you with a spouse? What's the perfect picture? And the same you need for a speech. You need to know what's the core message at the end of the speech. And let's just take an example as we spoke about it. I'm good enough. If you say my core message at the end, when they leave, when they go through the door and when I leave the stage, the sentence they should remember is, I am good enough. Then everything starting from the first word should be aiming at this target. Which means if you deviate from through downloads or from your course in general, or you get distracted when somebody sneezes or coughs, always have this sentence in mind and say, is the next thing I'm going to say putting value to the sentence, or is it putting value to something totally different? Because especially in 20 minutes, you need to stay on this one thread, on this golden thread, on the Germany, we would say der rote Faden, the red thread. Because if you deviate too much in 20 minutes, people get totally confused. So always have your core message in mind, where you want to bring them to, and ask yourself from time to time, is it still on this one topic? Because what people in the audience and people everywhere do, even on one-on-one conversations in a pub, they will always ask themselves, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? And this question comes every 10, 15, 20 seconds in everybody's mind. And if you watch a TV series and this question is not being answered after 1-2 minutes, switch off. And nowadays we know you watch YouTube 3, 4, 5 seconds, and after 4 or 5 seconds, even if there's a promotion coming in the middle of your YouTube clip, you overjump it. Because if you're not caught the first 5 seconds, that's it. Which means your mind deviates somewhere else. And now this leads us to your initial inspiration download, not question, but I pointed towards the question, like, if I download stuff, what do I do not to jump away too much from the topic? It's a great tool, and it's an amazing tool. It's an NLP technique, and it's called nested loops. Nested loops means you open several loops, and Richard Bandler, the founder, one of the founders of NLP, I think he was a master and still is. He sometimes opened 40, 50, 60 loops and did not close them. Not in the first place, which means the following. To keep your mind occupied and stick with me, I need to be very exciting and interesting. So I can use that with a lot of body language, and I can present my voice low and then very strong, and then come back and start becoming slower and make it very exciting and go like a roller coaster up and down with my voice. There are several techniques you can use to keep the audience with you, because if you remember church service, some of them, it was like, come to church every Sunday at 10 and then you will go to heaven. But most of the talk was only on this one frequency and one line, that you fall asleep after 5 minutes. This means the more you keep it interesting, the more the brain stays with you. It's like with a child. Play with something and the mind is, ooh, back to nested loops. And that's actually what I already did. I start a story and then I deviate from it. I'm telling you a story. Let's just use my movie, I'm Gräter. A couple months ago, I was in Hollywood with the producer Phil Goldfein, and we worked on my project, I'm Gräter. And as I can see in Vladi's eyes right now, she has the question, why are you wearing a hat today? And the reason is I had a hair transplantation, and they're very short. If you watch the YouTube video, they're very short. Am I scared of them? No, not at all. And your mind says, wait a minute. Where did the Hollywood story go? Why did you start telling me about Hollywood? How did it continue? Like, working on what? What's the status? What's going on? Now you're telling me about Vladi and your head and a hair transplantation. So which means you change through several stories. And like I said, Richard Bandler changed through 50, 60. Which means you open a loop, you start saying something, but then you do not close the loop by following through and telling the whole story. You just move to another story. And the mind says, wait a minute, there's something missing, which means you stay alert. Like every second, you could come back to the first story and I want to know how it ends. So you can open, when you download stuff, many, many loops and many stories. Important is that at one point you close the loops again. If you're a professional, if you're NLP trained, and if you have workshops going through 10 lessons, you can open loops in the first session and close some of them in session 8 or 10 if it's connected. But if you have a 20-minute speech and you open too many loops but you don't close them, the mind of the audience is distracted because they say, now he or she told us 20 different things, but I never learned the end of the story. Which means if you download stuff, always remember where you came from. Which means that you follow through and say, after telling 5 minutes something totally different, and say, yes, and right now the status on the Hollywood story is that it's been in a rewrite, not position, but in a rewrite state. It's being rewritten because some new informations came in through my personal development and my current state, where I said, oh, this message needs to be in. And that's the status of Hollywood. And speaking about Hollywood, because they always have beautiful hair, I'm very happy with my hair transplantation, and it's growing and growing. And sometimes for official things, I like to wear a hat because after a month they fall out where they were put in, and it looks a little bit freaky and whatever. Which means I just closed the 2 loops that I opened. And this is the important thing. Like, remember what you spoke about. If you say, I just download and I forget it after 1 minute, for speaking on stage, challenging. What I would do then is forget about the speech itself, make a small introduction, and then go into questions and answers. Say, does somebody from the audience has a question? And even if you force the questions, that you say, we collected some questions, and you write down the questions yourself to give answers. So you give little episodes to different questions, and so you're off the hook. That's what I would do.
Thank you. I love that. That brings me to another question. Since you're giving us such amazing stuff, I'd like you to speak more. And I know we're guys at the 27 minutes, so we will go a little bit over, but it's very valuable and it will help many of you, I'm pretty sure. What were some of the things you did when, like you feel that kind of, you look outside behind the curtain and you see the audience there, and all of a sudden you feel this kind of like a wave? How do you deal with that? Because as you said, people pick on the energy when you come out.
Yes.
So we need to kind of like bump ourselves somehow to enter it in a different energy. What are the things we can do to kind of roll out in a high vibe?
That's the best advice if you're not Tony Robbins or somebody really, really famous, because if you are, it's challenging to do that, what I tell you right now. I want to invite you to my various speeches on a cruise ship. In the old days, when I started, I did exactly what Vladi just shared. I was backstage, and then my intro came and a movie. Like, my presentations always in the same style. There's a countdown, then there's a movie, there's my intro, and then I'm coming out. And what Vladi just shared, like the sweaty palms, and you're nervous, and you're tipping from the left to the right, it was always like, what does the audience give me? What can I give the audience? Are they nice to me? Are they not nice? I'm scared. And again, sometimes it was too much about me and not too much about the audience. What I've realized, and what started on the cruise, that many guest artists, after delivering whatever they did, their show, their music stuff, their speech, went into the audience, to the exit, and said goodbye to the people. For the fact, if somebody had questions, you're there. That's what I did as well, and I realized I felt very uncomfortable. And the reason is very obvious, because if you feel uncomfortable meeting your audience after you give a speech, you are not sure if you were good, right? You're scared. People walk out, they have no questions, they don't say goodbye, they're not smiling, and you see that and you think, oh, did I do something wrong? And again, this comes with practice. You have to practice that. You say, and that helped me. Did I give 100% today of my personal 100% that I could give today? Which means with the sleep I had, with the food I had, with the time zone I'm in, with the general mood, with how my body feels, the 100% are not always the same 100%. If I had more sleep, if I have no hangover from jet lag or whatever, of course I'm in a better mood.
Yeah.
But it's never the same 100%. But if I can say I gave it all I could give with the body and the mind I have today and the support from others' fears. If I gave 100%, there's nothing I could have done different. if I have a hangover from drinking and I'm just not performing good, then I can be mad about myself because I said, oh, I only gave 80%. That's why I don't drink,
Mm. Yeah.
especially not in front of going on
It just
stage.
makes so much difference, isn't it? I mean, sorry to jump in, but you know, like when we were younger, and we're still very super young guys, but
I was 28.
I remember, you know, like going out, having a glass of wines like now, because every day we're in front of the audiences and coaching and stuff, it's actually not even worth it. You know, like I like my glass of wine with the meals, but I focused on having them like Friday night or Saturday night, you know, somewhere where I know I don't have to be a full on. And really, it's just the better lifestyle you have, you actually perform better in every way.
Absolutely.
Food,
Especially if you're
drinks.
channeling.
Yeah.
Because the moment you're busy with your inside, because you have a headache, you're not stable, you cannot download. You can still download, but you're so busy with your inside that
Yeah.
you cannot pick up the information that comes through the outside, through your heart, because you're so busy with your headache. That means your focus is totally off. And to come back to your question, Vladi, what can you do? What I realized, and I don't even know how it started, probably by accident, I started being outside of the venue at the entrance before people came in, which means I do my sound check and then I bring myself for the 30 minutes while people come in into the lobby room. I say hello to everyone. Sometimes
Mm.
people have questions, sometimes people even want to buy a book before I start. The thing is, if I come from backstage, I'm coming into a room that I don't know. If I am in the lobby and I say hello to everyone, I set the standard for the mood in the room because by me being friendly and open to everyone and seeing everyone and having a joke here and there and answering questions, I have already a connection, which means I come to stage in front of friends and not strangers. And this gives me the best feeling ever. Which means what I do now, 30 minutes with the people, then I see my countdown. Then comes my opening movie. I don't go backstage. I sit somewhere next to people, usually starting already with the countdown and having a little chat. And what I realized, most people that I start chatting with in this 30 seconds, they later come to my workshops because it
Mhm.
builds trust. Because they say, shouldn't you be up there or behind the stage? I said, let's see what's happening. I look forward to this guy. I heard he's really good. And I watch my intro movie, different intro movies I have, from the audience point of view, which means I look through the eyes of the audience and I watch the movie how I would watch it if I would be the audience. And again, this brings us to you need to know your shit. Because if you're scared, how should I open? What should I say? Am I forgetting stuff? You're not present in the presence.
Yeah.
Whenever I have movie clips in my presentation, I always watch them. I've seen them 100 times. I know what's coming. And I don't go backstage and drink water and talk to people. No, I watch it. Sometimes I walk out and I get so caught by the clip that I watched 300 times that I have tears in my eyes. That I really have to wait and get myself together until I'm stable to speak again. Because the movie clip just caught me like it usually catches the audience. But I only get there if I'm a part of the group, which means I come from the group. And then when the clip is over, I walk to the stage, come on stage, say hello. And after that, I walk off stage and I become part of them again. And it gives just a familiar feeling. And that's the best advice I can give you. Just
Mm.
mix and mingle with the people beforehand, get to know them, that you're not a strange object popping up on stage and just kind of make friends, just have small talks, set the stage for the audience, like through your saying hello, your kindness, your being polite, and it's a total different ballgame. You feel so much calmer and safer.
I love you said that because it very much resonates with me because you know there's so many people who advise you to just be this untouchable person, you know, like so make a distance, but for me it's almost like sometimes they have to drag me shaking hands
Yes.
just to
Same
already
with
be
me.
up there and I'm like, give me, I have to run, I have to run. And it really shows that you care. And it really, what I will tell you guys, and Norman's giving us a professional views, but what I found out in my last few years of really getting better at speaking is because you just show up as who you are. And if you really know, it's like when Norman says know your shit, it's like if you're a great skier, it doesn't matter what attractions or you're something, if you know how to ski well, you're gonna overcome anything. You will find yourself at that particular moment. You don't have to assume or pre-plan these things. You can't. You can never predict what's gonna happen. There might be a question which will throw you out. There might be but the last question, and I know we're over time, but it will be the last question, guys. It's for you. It's what would you say and advise with the audience? Like we were talking a little bit about know your audience, and you are obviously speaking a lot on cruises and everywhere to corporations, right? So it's mostly corporations. How do we make sure that we actually speak correctly to the audience we are? Or do we need to find out more about the audience or who they are? Because what is the different thing or what can we do wrong and right knowing it?
Yes, you can do wrong if you have your, what we call it in professional business, your signature keynote, which means for me it's the anchor method, topic of my first book. It's the German one, the English one as
I was
well.
gonna say show your book to everyone,
Yes.
because I'm sitting not behind my books where I pull my
It's the German one. But I Am Greater, like the movie title, is the English book. The thing is that if you have a signature keynote speech, which all professionals have, it's the thing you always start with, the bread and butter keynote you have. It's written in a certain way, and it's, if you do it correctly, written for a certain audience. Yet, if the audience changes, you should change some approaches. What we realized, whenever it's like with raising children, what we spoke about earlier, when you do one cruise, you think you know the audience and you can do the thing that worked and did not work the next time again. Realizing after, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 cruises we did already, you never know the audience. But as we spoke to one general manager ladies on board, she's with the fleet since so many years, Doreen, she said that, she told us, and it's so obvious if you know it, there's a difference of guests. Like for the long trips, which means 21 days plus, it's a different audience than the short trips. And the family versions, which means if you go on with your family for 14 days, you have the goal to get rid of your kids and then just have some quiet relationship time. If you're going to Norway and you want to see the light structure, the light place, whatever they are called in English, the polar lights, I don't know. You have a goal. You're goal orientated. You want to take many pictures. The same if you have city trips. You want to see Athens and you want to see Thessaloniki and you want to see whatever. Which means the text, the advertisement needs to be more targeted at goal achievement. But if you have like 35-day trips where you're sometimes 8 days on sea at the same time, you are more there to relax, which means the same keynote is just being presented in a different way. It's more about how to be more lucky, how to be more relaxful and stuff like that. The better you know your audience, the better you can help them. And as we spoke about before we pressed record, Vladi, I said, if you speak in front of corporate people and your core message is that, because it's in your story, that you left the corporate world and you did your own thing and that's the best thing ever, it's not the smartest thing. I mean, they pay good bucks for you, that they bring you in, and the advice you give them is do your own thing. They won't hire you again. It might be a great keynote, might help the people. But the better you know the audience, the better you know their pain. And this brings us to what we spoke about earlier. You need to know the last sentence, your core message. And the core message for HR people is a different one than for the entrepreneurs themselves, is a different one than for corporate employed general managers, is a different one than for pupils. It's a different one than for self-employed people. The moment you know the audience, you need to get into their mind and say, what do they want and what do they need? And how can I structure my message around their needs? And this is the biggest challenge for the corporate events. Like if you draw the audience to you, if they come to you, that's kind of a piece of cake. You can play whatever. But if you go into corporations and they want to just have their lunch break, and then the general managers, we have a surprise, and they say, oh my gosh, we have a motivational speaker. Oh my gosh. For the next hour, oh, I'm so hungry. Then you have to really learn how to approach the people with the right things to really hook them and pull them towards you. So best advice ever. Know your audience as good as you can. Talk to your promoter. Go into the audience before, and if you know your shit, you can adapt. And the best thing, as a last advice from my side to this question, and then probably to our podcast, is if you can connect to the audience, what I told you earlier, for me, it's about we speak from one heart to the other heart. And it's just data and facts. This does not touch the heart. You need to touch people's hearts. If I'm on stage and I can say, as we spoke, can I tell your story, lady in row number 2? And she nods. Then I start telling the story that she shared with me right before the keynote, standing in the lobby. This gives a connection with her, plus the other audience, because all the others say, oh, he's listening. Oh, he's really pointing people out. Oh, he's paying attention. It's not just this, hello, and yes, go in. I don't care about you. I don't just care about your tickets that you bought. No. If you can relate to real people's questions and problems, and you can find them out just by speaking to them, the much better your keynote will get. So
I
just be
love it.
friends of people and be
It's so
interested.
true. You know, like I'm gonna finish it with sentence, and guys, really go over all the advice and write down the structure. I will do the same actually with all the advice that Norman's given us, because really speaking is, it's a tweaking it a little bit to your personality, but knowing, being aware of all these things, because that helps you show up better, because it's somewhere, you store it somewhere in your mind. And then when it comes up, you're like, oh, I've heard about this, you know, like, and then you know what to do. It's when we're aware, it's easier because we understand. But really, for me, is like, I know that things change for me, and Norman spoke to it a few times today, is when I put all the attention to others, because I'm just there to help. And if you actually take that attention away from you, whether my hair is okay or whether, oh my goodness, something is not perfect, then they really don't care. Because think about you. You go somewhere because you want to leave with, it's as you're looking for a solution for something, or you're not feeling good about it, and you just had this intuition to be somewhere. And there is a reason why you're there. So, you know, like the connection is the best thing we can ever do. But I love everything you shared with us today, Norman. It was amazing. If you guys want to know more, reach out to Norman directly, because actually this is something he does. He helps with speaking and stuff. And we've done this episode because we thought we're going through it, and we both have this massive core value, which is truth. And if we show you how we go live, how we deal with kids and troubles and, you know, whatever life throw us at, and how we can respond instead of react, and what are the mistakes we've done, which you can avoid, then that is the purpose of this podcast. So we can help you through just going with the flow and telling you how life is and what we can get better at. So thank you so much for listening to us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.